Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
My name is Samana Rosnik, and I'm a disabled Appalachian poet of Cherokee descent. And right now I am promoting my latest e-chapbook from Voice Lux Press, and I will put that link in the chat at the end. But for those of you watching the recording, it's voiceluxjournal.wordpress.com. And the book is called Dreaming of Bono. And the idea was, I think I was doing some inner child work. Bono is kind of like a father figure for me. There's this whole parasocial psychological history to that. And when they first released their album Songs of Experience, I got the impression that they were trying to prepare the hardcore fan base for when U2 is not around anymore, because they are getting older. And I started thinking, well, how is that going to affect me when they die? I need to work through this stuff. So now I started having these dreams about Bono. And I decided to write down the dreams, and that's what the poetry collection is. I've written down the dreams, and it's me working through that psychology until I no longer needed Bono in that way anymore. So a lot of inner child work happening around this persona of this crazily famous person that's probably famous on the level of Elvis, who knows? But it's really about the inner work more than it is about him. This is one of the poems. It's called In the Name of Love, which you will recognize as the title of one of their songs. I am afraid, but I know you are too. Storms are screaming over this black sea of life. Your shadow supports me from behind as our tiny vessel sinks, and my hope, heavy in my hands like wet sand, weighs down my soul's pockets and washes out. You sing, hold on. Hold on, there is a light, don't let it go out. I'm gasping, and together we push back against waves with our bare hands. There is sadness in our will, the courage of the noble righteous doomed to defy and defy until defiance kills us, because we must, if only for those who lack the strength to fight. There is no moon, there is just water and more cold, salted water. You are not sure anymore. Love keeps you singing. That's all now, and that's enough. Sputtering, you clasp my shoulders firmly, and with fondness, you pull me under. I surrender to your hold, giving, even in death, your body a floating raft for other life. Silenced, yet forever singing hope, dawn spears horizon spray.
Excellent. Next up, Michael Manassian.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to read from my book, Jack Pays a Visit. You can see that. And this book is sort of an homage to my uncle. His name is Jack Carapadian, and he was an Iranian. He was born in Iran. Sorry, starting to sound like Texas people. Born in Iran, and he was an Armenian, and he wrote almost exclusively in Armenian. He was a novelist and short story writer. There are a couple of two of his short story collections have been translated into English. And he was a huge influence on me. When my parents and I, when I was about, until the time I was 3 years old, my parents and I lived with my grandparents on Bathgate Avenue in the Bronx. Alan, you know that place. And my aunt, my father's sister rather, was married to Jack, and they lived in the same apartment in the Bronx. And I used to follow Jack around all the time. I was just fascinated by him. He had an old, Remington typewriter, and he'd be working away on his typewriter, and I'd sit on his lap and I'd push the keys. And he always said that he was the biggest influence on me as a writer. Later on, after he retired, we'd go walking in the woods in Connecticut, and we'd talk about writing, and sometimes we'd go back to the house, and my aunt and my cousins would gather around, and he'd read something of his and I'd read something of mine. It's just a huge influence on me. He died in 1994, and around 2010, I took my last sabbatical at the college where I was teaching in Florida. And I had the feeling that he was like standing behind me. He was dead by then, but he was just, his spirit was there. And I reread the 2 books of short stories that he'd written. And it took a lot of years, but here's the whole book now. And I'm going to read the opening poem. Oh, by the way, I want to mention my cousin, Jack's daughter, did the cover, the painting on the cover. And she also did the painting on the cover of one of my other books called Time is Not a River. The poem is The Dogs of Persia. Pausing to light his pipe, Jack looks at me over the flame and curves his eyebrows upward, as if he would ask a question. But instead, he tells me about the novel he's writing about his university days in Tehran and his first love, which ended badly, he says, after he burnt down her father's house, preferring the symbolic gesture to refusals, blood oaths, and false anger. Besides, he said, I didn't love her anymore. We walk in silence for a while, stopping to listen to a bird cry to its mate, a plaintive wail in the sudden sun-drenched clearing just before we come upon the tangle of blueberry bushes ripe with fruit, the dense fragrance of berries reaching us first. Then Jack tells me how he paid the penalty with his own exile and journey to America, leaving behind his father, friends, and favorite dogs. There's always a price to pay, he says, and we haggle over who will taste the first blueberries. Then the way the truth is revealed to the wounded. Next, the stewardship of words and their meaning. Like poets, we want to know why there's no passion left in life or love, in song or speech. Trading truths and small lies, then abandoning language, until finally I realize we are bargaining for life itself, exchanging the stars for the lights of a faraway city and the sound of raindrops for the wounded barking of long forgotten dogs. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Before we go to the next presenter, because we are missing 2 of the people who signed up and we didn't have a full slate of 10, any of you who are joined today who did not sign up, if you would like to grab a book and a poem, I would be happy to hear from you today. So this is your chance to do a free marketing blurb. Welcome, Joan. Nice that you could join us. And then our next presenter will be Tamara.
Goodness. Well, hello, everybody. So I've got, 2 full-length and 2 chapbooks, and 2 full-lengths that I'm sending out. But this is my current one, my newest one. It's Along the Fault Line. It's a chapbook, small. It's a series. It's a collection of poems about growing up in the weird place where I grew up, which was called Mecca, California. It's literally along the fault line. And this photograph was taken there, well, in the desert behind Mecca. And yeah, that was when I was 18. I remember that day, my brother's friend and I were sort of seeing each other, well, obviously. And we came back, my dad had said, what were you guys doing out in Painted Canyon? And I said, we were taking nude photos. And he knew we weren't serious. And the photographer, David Cieslakowski, just blanched. It was hilarious. Anyway, so I'll read to you the poem. Actually, it was in last month's Verse Virtual, but it might be hard. Anyway, this is how it's supposed to be read, okay? Kolese kola is the title. Patty taught me how to lie, how to hide from the teacher and knock using rocks on the kindergarten door. Patty taught me how to say, you ain't the boss of me, how to pull a hair from my arm so we could become blood sisters. Patty showed me the place where her dad kicked in the door. We colored in books till our knuckles turned purple green. We shared our lunch. speak Spanish because everybody else did. And she made up the words I'll never forget. Colese cola. I missed her when she moved back to Alaska. But there she was again in the 7th grade, friendly, plump, and warm as sunshine, with a garland of hickeys circling her neck. That's it.
Great. If you would put information or a link to where that book can be purchased in the chat, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
And I will add that information when I do the YouTube post.
This is too weird. I am in Mecca today.
What?
I'm in Mecca. My husband's working on the power plant here.
Mecca, California?
You betcha.
Wait
Yep.
a minute. Who's talking?
That's
June.
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 No picture.
You're in Mecca?
I am in Mecca, California. Yes.
Sheesh. Wow, that
How's
is
that
weird.
for weird coincidence?
Well, in my book, I tell you where Mecca got its name. It used to be Walters, but that's another
Oh,
story.
well, I will have to look for your book. I just had to say so. Sorry for butting in.
Ah,
I just-
No, that's delightful. So
yeah.
what I'm
God.
going to do now is I'm looking to see if any of the rest of you are interested in presenting today. Hands not going up. Okay, since I did not get Sterling, absolutely. Since I didn't drop my record button when we started this, I am going to redo my poem and presentation. So I'm j.lewis, editor of Verse Virtual online magazine, which has been one of the great delights of my life. I have met so many incredible people, and these meetings on Zoom and the book parties have been just wonderful because now I get faces to go with the poems that I've been reading, and it does make a huge difference. And now when I read your submissions, I can hear you, which is a lot different than just reading blind from someone that you don't know. So I have 4 full-length collections and several chapbooks. I will put a link in the chat to my webpage where you can find all of those. My latest book is called As If a Caress. The title was inspired by Jeannie Roberts, who talked about autumn and how the autumn light as if a caress. So that became the title of the book, and there is a title poem, but that's not the one I'm going to read. I'm going to read Choosing a Path. And this is how it goes. Chicken bones tossed by fingers as thin as they, tea leaves stirred, settling in a thin ceramic cup, slips of paper in a bowl, shaken and selected, words scratched in frost, losers erased by boot tip, pattern of birds in flight at first light of day, mindful meditation, the spirit manifesting. All paths lead to this knot in the calendar and lead away to unknown joys, unwanted sorrows. Tomorrow's chosen by today's first careful steps. Thank you. And Sterling, I would be happy if you would like to present.
Okay, although I do want to preface this that I did read from this book earlier this year. It's FLYTRAPS. I guess I've written, I forget some things. Was it 7 or 8 books of poetry and a collection of flash fiction? I just picked this up after Jim's invitation, and I may have read this before, may have not. It's called Bird Lady Talisman. Cindy carried her emotions around her slender neck in a locket, thrice blessed by a Dalai Lama mystic, and charged it like an amulet over salt sea, incense smoke and spiritual chants facing the 4 winds. Cindy opened it only when ready to share an adventure, ingratiate her lovers, spellbound critical detractors that had written her off as just another burned out hippie chick who cherished a brunette burlap book bag that bore her earthly belongings and impending miracles. Oh, Cindy rubbed her talisman day and night and hung with carnival barkers, entered hollowed halls, synagogues, mosques, temples, and churches from all religions to pray, light incense, borrow collection coffer change. Solemnly, she sat next to Corinthian columns and held court on the Justice Department stone steps and dispensed streetwise wisdom to anybody who'd listen, and exalted nature and fed pigeons that commonly gathered like feathered disciples around her ageless, sculptured legs. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Make sure you drop a link in the chat so I can add that to the video. Victoria, would you like to present? You're welcome to.
Well, I don't have a book,
Okay,
but I can read a poem.
I would love.
I don't want to take away from the theme. So,
We're actually done with everyone who was signed up to present. So let me do this. I'm going to run the video through your poem, and then I will stop the recording and we can visit.
okay, just give 1 second for me to find one here. I'm sure I'll find one. Just 1 sec.
Tamara, I did not know there was a Mecca in California. I would have pilgrimed there. And I may yet go. You're still muted.
I just said it's quite a place. It used to be really, it's still pretty small. It was odd growing up there. I was a minority, and it was interesting.
Okay,
Kind of cool.
Victoria, we're
yes.
ready for you.
All right, let me just grab it. Okay, this poem is called Still Here. You were so grateful for the trees, the fearless blazing of the leaves, even as they fell. Each stating in defiance, I am still here. Colors are a reason for joy, you said. Do you see how pretty they are? I picked you up for the early morning drive to the doctor, knowing in advance what she was going to say. All the way there, I swallowed the secret stone after stone. I sensed you already knew, but we spoke only of beautiful things. As we watched the leaves falling like thin shavings of precious gold, the glittering sunlight in between the swaying branches, blinking overhead like stars.
Well, thank you to all of you who participated today, and we will end our recording now.